Give me a Lucy Score book, I'll read it all day, every day. Give me a thriller, love it. Give me some literary fiction, it's like eating truffles. Bukowski. With so many genres, how do you choose? I'm Shayna Joy. I'm an indie romance author. My debut release comes out in December 2025. Today we're talking about 5 of the steps that worked for me to find the genre that I wanted to write an 80k novel in. I don't know if you're anything like me, but when I started writing, I was writing in a completely different genre than what I am actually going to release my first novel in. For the longest time, I wrote poetry. And then when I had my own child, I moved into writing picture books. And I thought I'd try my hand at a middle grade novel with plans on becoming the next Jacqueline Wilson. Do I write in any of those today? For fun, maybe. Am I planning to release any of those books? No. These are 5 of the steps that I took when choosing what genre I was going to be writing in long term. Step 1. I wrote multiple short stories in multiple genres. It wasn't intentional, honestly, at first. If you've watched any of my previous videos, you'll know that there was a time where I was pursuing traditional publishing. Something that often looks good to agents or trade publishers is having things published in magazines, journals, having, even if it's short story, poetry. It's kind of like word of mouth confirmation that this person has been deemed good enough by other people to be published. Therefore, you should take a look. I used to enter as many short story competitions as I could, and I literally just wrote whatever story came to me at the time, which surprisingly was quite often thriller. I also wrote stories in literary fiction, mystery. I tried short stories and romance, but that didn't work so well for me. However, it did give me experience writing in multiple genres. I got to see what I enjoyed writing in, flowed well for me, sort of what came more naturally to me, and how I felt within myself when I was writing in each genre, which leads into 2, realizing that my mood is affected by the genre that I'm writing in. So making sure that I'm being intentional about where I put my energy, especially when considering moving from short stories to an 80k plus novel, knowing that my mood is going to be affected for a longer period of time. For example, I really like the fast pace of writing a thriller. I like what you can do emotion-wise to the reader. I like the shock or the twists and the pacing, but I only read thriller occasionally, as much as I love it, because even reading it affects my mood. I'm a really sensitive person. I'm really affected by what's going on outside of me and what I'm consuming. Anything that you could say is quote unquote negative will affect me in that way, or make me feel that way. So, you know, scary stories make me feel scared, and sad stories make me feel sad, as they all should. Those are the emotions that they're intending on evoking in someone. However, those feelings stay with me while I'm consuming the content or writing the content, and for some time after. When I was writing my first short stories in thriller, and I was thinking maybe I'd like to try writing a thriller novel, and then I think just reflecting on what I was seeing coming up in the stories, which was often making me have to stop writing because I could see some gory twist or some more violent thing that was going to happen. and I would have to stop, and I kind of felt like I didn't want to be there for what was going to happen next. And so that was a big tell for me, that even though I really enjoyed lots of things about that genre in particular, it probably wasn't going to be good for me to write in long term. And so I reflected on the books that I was most drawn to, which takes us into point number 3, asking myself what I like to read. I've always been a fan of what I call an easy read, something that I can just open and, just float away. I let it carry me away. I want it to take me out of my real world. I'm an escapist. Let me live vicariously through these characters. Let me experience what they're experiencing and get their happy ending. Because isn't that what we read for a lot of the time, right? So for me, I'm always drawn to a book with a romantic plot or subplot. If it doesn't have one, I will read it, but at least in this season of my life, I really need that romantic subplot. I really need that romance. I was always drawn to, books like, like Marian Keyes and Lucy Score. And just, those nice, I don't even know if you could call them cozy, because a lot of them have, real life things in them, and sometimes you feel sad, and sometimes you feel, angry or outraged, but it's just at a much more, at a much duller level, in a good way. And I think that a lot of these things, because even I like to read romantasy, people die, or vampires get fangs ripped out, and be quite high stakes. However, I've found that a book with a little bit of humour in it, even if it's not a rom-com, or it's not like a funny fantasy, if there's some humour in it, or some witty banter, some witty characters, then in much the way that a sitcom does, they make the big things a bit, that little bit of humour makes the big things smaller. That makes them more tolerable and consumable for someone like me who's really sensitive and who chooses books to escape. So I want to, sometimes I want to leave hard feelings, or I want to leave a bad day, and I want to go into something that I can almost be guaranteed that it's going to be good, it's going to make me feel better, and there's going to be a happy ending. Step 4 is one that some people probably don't want to think about, but for me it felt important to think about, and that was just thinking about genre from a business mindset as well. So looking at popular fiction, for example, what sells, what are the most popular genres, or what are the top selling genres, and could I write in any of those? I'm not someone who could ever write to market, as in see a trend. I would love to jump on the cowboy trend right now, because I love cowboys, but I can't write fast enough to write on a trend, and I have to write the story that comes to me each time, otherwise it doesn't feel authentic to me. And I think I know I'm quite an intuitive writer, so I can't theoretically write to market in the way that some people are able to, because of the season of life that I'm in, and because of the responsibilities that I have. Looking at the genre that I was going to write in from a business mindset was important. So for me to increase my chances of being more visible or more widely sought out by an audience, was to find the biggest audience in a genre that I like. So again, this, popular fiction, there is things like, you're looking at like thriller again, romance. I love romance, as I've said earlier. So that wasn't that wasn't a hard decision. Step number 5, what real life experience or real life scenarios could I draw on, at least in the start, when I'm a new author, a newer writer. In some ways, I think when you are a newer writer, in those first books, I can only speak for myself, but I feel like there's a lot of me in there and a lot of my own experiences in there, like seated in there in a fictional way. So they're nothing like the experience that I had or did or who I was, but an idea from myself or an experience I had seeded that idea. And then I can reflect on my own emotions in that time, or that scenery, or that exchange with that person, and kind of use that in my writing. I feel like that's fairly common for new writers, and I don't know if that, I'm not experienced enough to know if that follows through your entire writing journey and you continue to pull from all of those things, or not. Those are the 5 steps that I took to figure out what genre I was going to be writing in. I've just finished writing my 3rd contemporary romance book and I'm loving it. I'm looking forward to writing my 4th. If you're a reader, let me know, what genre do you like reading in? If you're a writer, what do you like writing in? Do you read and write in the same genre? Let me know in the comments below. Any questions, pop them down there also, and I will answer them in a future video. Bye for now.